A boy brought up on the daring do of Biggles in his biplane, the son of a conscripted RAF dispatch rider who followed the Allied invasion into Europe, a teenager who learned to fly at the RAF's expense, is bound to have mixed emotions about the ever more destructive and dangerous technology that has brought us from those biplane heroes to the ability to initiate the destruction of the entire world population at the push of a nuclear button. Along that journey, just over a century, the RAF inspired devotion thanks to the bravery of a handful of pilots who turned the course of the Second World War during the Battle of Britain. It also, in the same war, earned a reputation for the ruthless destruction of civilian populations during the carpet bombing of German cities, and since has had billions spent on developing its ever more modern weaponry, often by companies with a less than salubrious reputation but a very healthy bottom line, thanks to billions of pounds of our tax money. All of which makes the Royal Air Force Museum at Cosford both fascinating and sort of horrifying, and makes me ask whether the UK's population has benefited in any meaningful way from all this. The development and maintenance of a modern Air Force comes at an exorbitant cost. The procurement of aircraft, the training of personnel and ongoing research and development demand mind-bending financial resources. Governments allocate vast sums of money to these endeavours, often at the expense of other critical areas such as healthcare, education and infrastructure. At Cosford you can see the progression of weaponry from the days of dogfights between biplanes and the massive boost to technology given by the Second World War, which led to bigger and more powerful bombers, faster fighters, and eventually, of course, German rockets. And from those German doodlebugs and V2 rockets to the earliest jets, through the first fly-by-wire aircraft, there's a clear line of descent to today's Typhoon Eurofighter, itself a clear descendant of the dumped TSR-2 project of the 1960s. Which brings us to the question of who truly profits from the proliferation of high-tech weaponry. Defence contractors and arms manufacturers get rich from advanced military technology. These companies operate in a global marketplace, and while this boosts their profits, it raises serious concerns about the potential for conflicts of interest, corruption and profiteering, as well as compromising peace and stability. Do we, the UK's population, genuinely benefit from the development of our Air Force? Our home country hasn't been truly under territorial threat for 70 years or more. The threat has been one of nuclear destruction, and our response has been to balance that with the promise of the destruction of our enemy, hence our V-bomber fleet, Polaris, and other long-range missiles. As a youngster, I was deeply impressed by a V-bomber scramble I witnessed in Cambridgeshire as a teenage RAF cadet, and it led me to realise that this would have been Britain's response to a nuclear attack, so that just after my family is wiped out, another family will die a few thousand miles away, and both families will burn to death in a nuclear holocaust that will remove all life from this planet. Now, there are several generations now that have not spent their teenage years with the spectre of nuclear destruction sitting on their shoulder as we did, their end confronting them at a time when they should be seeing nothing but their future. The threat hasn't disappeared, so of course, so much as receded, but that has allowed the glorification of all things military to rise once more with a raucous minority, demanding everybody in uniform as a hero and anybody disagreeing a traitor. We're now in a period more reminiscent of the 1930s than the educated, sophisticated and intelligent society we hoped to build in the aftermath of the last World War. A national museum such as RAF Cosford inevitably glorifies our military and technological past, but to its credit, Cosford also reminds us of the fears and the protests triggered in the 1960s by the very developments its exhibits depict. The immense costs, both human and financial, that come with maintaining a modern air force impact everybody and the population at large rather than rich investors in British aerospace and other arms manufacturers. The development of the modern air force in the United Kingdom raises profound moral, financial and political questions. The human cost in terms of deaths and destruction over the past 105 years can't be ignored, yet the ethics of the armed forces and those who profit by them have not been seriously questioned by a public movement since the campaign for nuclear disarmament in the middle of the last century. I can still be impressed by the sleek lines and even the menace of these weapons of death, but we must question the morality of them, surely, and the businesses that produce them and the politicians that fund them and the way in which they've become the currency of international politics, something amply demonstrated by Biden's sale of cluster bombs to the Ukraine. This is a world Biggles wouldn't recognise, a world where fairness and honour and decency don't take precedence, and the destruction of your enemy by any means necessary is accepted behaviour globally.